Hey friends, I'm Heidi with Heavenly Minded Home. I am a Christian wife and mom of 4 amazing children. We have been homeschooling for about a dozen years now, just graduated our oldest child, and starting off the homeschool year here with our youngest officially starting school. These are the top 5 things I wish I would have known before I started homeschooling. Hey friends, and welcome to our channel. If you guys are new here, we are so glad that you have found us. I am Heidi, and this is Heavenly Minded Home, our little space here on the interwebs. And we love sharing about all things homey. So homemaking, homeschooling, home discipleship, homesteading, you name it, all to the glory of God with an eternal focus. That is what we love doing around here. And so last week we talked a lot about homemaking. You guys can go and check out our videos on our main page, as we have a video that comes out every single day this year. It's been so much fun. And this week we're really going to dial in on the topic of homeschooling. So be sure to subscribe and turn on those little bell notifications if you want to be sure to get these updates all throughout the week. We have a lot of fun stuff that I'm so excited to dig in with you guys about. Now, I like to keep it real, raw, honest, transparent. We have been sharing our homeschool journey here for over 5 years. And so there's no shortage of resources, vlogs, information, whatever. But we also have some new things coming out that I cannot wait to share with you guys. So I know resources are a wonderful thing to collect, but before we get into more of that, let's talk about the top 5 things I wish I would have known before I started homeschooling. So I started homeschooling when our oldest was in the middle of 1st grade. We pulled him out of government school about halfway through well, not even technically halfway through the year, a little bit before then, but we pulled him out at the winter break, and he never went back. And we knew no one else that homeschooled. This is way before online resources are what they are today. I really didn't know what I was doing, and we kind of just figured it out as we went. But he did just graduate this year, and now I have the 3 girls who have been homeschooled their whole lives to dive in with this year. And so throughout the past, nearly dozen years of homeschooling, these things really stand out to me the most, that if I could go back to me all those years ago and give myself these little nuggets of information, oh wow, that would have made a big difference. And so that's why I'm going to share that here with you today. And that's why you have that share button down there. So for all of your homeschool friends and other mamas that you want to send this over to them and be like, it's okay, we found help, like we're going to get through this, we're here for one another, and we can do it and give God the glory through it all. You guys send them this video, because that is what we are here to do. The first thing that I could have saved myself a lot of heartache and struggle with would be to understand that homeschool does not mean school at home. Now, maybe you grew up homeschooled, and so you have a lot more information than I did when I got started. I did not. I did government school nearly my entire life. I did Christian school, private school for a few years of my education. I thought when we started homeschooling that meant it needed to look like school at home. I thought it needed to be set times. We sit at the table, we have the books, we do the worksheets, I grade the things, we hit all the subjects, right? I had this image of my head of what homeschool looked like, and that's not it. And so maybe you've tried homeschool before, but really what you were doing was school at home. Maybe during the pandemic, you did some distance learning and you were like, oh my goodness, that is not at all like what I want to be doing. That was very frustrating. That is not homeschool. Do not let that idea of homeschool ruin it for you, because it does not have to be school at home. I actually do not know one single person that has implemented a school at home model and that's what works for them. So you're not alone if you were like me and tried it out and went, wow, this is not working for me, for my child, for our family, for anyone involved. So homeschool does not have to look like school at home. They are not the same thing. That is not how it needs to be structured. And you don't have to try to fit that impossible mold that you might have pictured in your head. And so again, that's why we're going to be talking about this stuff all week long. And I'm going to show you what homeschool looks like for us. And you can go look at playlists on my channel that I've been showing you for the past 5 years what homeschool looks like for our family. Not in a way that you need to do it like us. No. A way in showing you that it can look like this. It can look different. It can change with your season of life. You do not have to take that school model that we probably all kind of have stuck in our heads and think that you need to replicate that at home in order for your homeschool to be successful. The second tip that I wish I could go back and tell younger me would be that deschooling is such an important and valuable tool to pull out as often as needed. So I've thought about doing a series on this because I think deschooling is so important. If you guys would like to see that, like this or leave me a comment, something, let me know and I'd be happy to do that. I love it when you guys kind of comment as we go and it's like we're chit-chatting together and we can always, share more about those things. But deschooling is the process. I think that a lot of families find when they are first coming into homeschool and they're trying to create this whole school at home process and it's not going well, it's a little frustrating, but you can use it at any point. And really what deschooling is when you kind of strip away the formal teaching part of it and really allow a lot of healing and restoration to happen within the student and the teacher to find that love of learning. And that's so incredibly important. I know for us, we kind of dove in and I didn't know what I was doing and we had just had another baby and we were starting a business and we moved and all of this stuff was going on at the same time that we started homeschooling. Hindsight being 2020, probably not the smoothest transition period, but hey, God's got it and it all worked out for His glory. I thought we had to do all the things and I was trying to check off all the boxes and blah, 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 blah. And then we got so overwhelmed that I just couldn't do it anymore. We were moving, we were kind of homeless for a while. I mean, we were kind of all over the map and we entered into this phase of deschooling where I said, we're going to set all that stuff down. We're going to focus on our relationships and we're just going to start to love learning together. We're going to explore. We're going to do stuff. We're going to be active with one another. We're going to play a lot. We're going to do games and just activities together. And it was so amazing as we went through that process of deschooling to really find a love of learning. I will be honest and say that we have reiterated this process multiple times throughout our homeschool journey with all 4 of our children. And it really is kind of that foundation that led us to this place of unschooling, which I love so much. And we can totally talk about if you guys have questions or any other unschoolers out there that totally get it. But it was so huge. It was so important. And I will share that I did a podcast with my mom, who has been a teacher for decades. And she actually even brought up that she thought it was kind of weird when we first were doing all of that. And she was like, I don't really get what you're doing. Please do not screw up my grandchildren. But now she even credits that to such an impactful move that we made in our homeschool journey that we still see the rewards of with our children today. Real quick before we keep going here with these tips, these things that I wish I would have known before I started homeschooling, I want to invite each and every one of you to the Heavenly Minded Homeschool Academy's first ever Back to School Open House. We have been running the HMH Co-op for the past few years, and we have some amazing news about our online co-op, our online curriculum, and other resources that we put out for homeschool families, all with a biblical basis, doing all that we do for our children to the glory of God. So this Friday, July 28th at 2 p.m. EST, we have our free first ever open house that we are doing for our back to school. You guys can come over, get a full presentation of what's going on with the newly revamped Heavenly Minded Homeschool Academy, meet our amazing teachers, see what classes they are offering, and get an opportunity to ask questions, to come in to see how it works and have your questions answered right then and there. You guys can go to heavenlymindedhome.com. We also have it linked down in the description, but set an alert on your phone or whatever you need to do Friday at at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come and join us for the open house. All right, I'm gonna get out of here and let you get back to the things I wish I would have known. Now, the third point that I really wish I could go back and tell my younger self that I really wish I would have understood before I started homeschooling would be that my educational philosophy is valuable. It is important. And so maybe you've never really thought about that. What is my educational philosophy? I know there's many great kind of schools of thought when it comes to homeschooling out there, and there's wonderful things that we can learn from Charlotte Mason, from, kind of that classical approach to education, from, all these different things. They're so wonderful and there's so many great things, but there's still a value in understanding what your personal philosophy on education is for your family. And understanding that as Christians with a biblical worldview and what that means in a heavenly minded, eternal sense, that causes so much clarity within your homeschool, yes, but also within your family, within your marriage. And so discussing that, coming up with that philosophy and understanding that, for us, it was really important to be able to reconcile these things scripturally and to know what our parameters were, what our goals were, where were we headed, what was okay and what wasn't okay. These things were paramount to helping our family really structure a homeschool that could thrive, that could really work for us and our children. So if you guys would like to hear what our personal educational philosophy is, leave me a comment down below and let me know, because I would be happy to share it with you guys if that can be a help to at least see what somebody else came up with in thinking about that. But I would definitely say that before you get homeschooling, or even if you've been doing it for a while, but you're still somehow, kind of, what are we going to be doing this year? I haven't really thought about this before. Regardless of how long you have or haven't been homeschooling, I highly recommend hitting pause, taking it to prayer, and really thinking through what your educational philosophy is for your homeschool and your family. The fourth thing that I absolutely wish I would have understood at the very beginning before we got started homeschooling, don't mind the cute puppies rolling around behind me, was that relationship bonding trumps curriculum and plans every single time. I would buy curriculums, I would lay out all the plans, I would do all of the things, and so often we would get going into it and something wasn't working, something wasn't right, and for whatever reasons that might have been. But something that I really learned is that if my focus became our relationships and the bonding between siblings, between parents and children, between my children and their walk with the Lord, between all of these different areas, that has given us far more fruit than anything else. And when I focused on those as the priority, the curriculum and the planning and the activities and the learning, all of that fell into place. But for so long, I was far more focused on having the right homeschool plans, having the right homeschool curriculum, having the right homeschool whatever, when really what I should have focused on was building up strong relationships, having strong relationships with my children having strong relationships with their siblings, strong relationships with dad, with the Lord, with, in all the different dynamics of life. That was far more important. And the more that got refined and improved, honestly, everything else just kind of falls together and it just works. It just does a great job. And that's part of why I'm so passionate about sharing about these things, because that was such a huge light bulb moment of, why did I do this backwards for so long? Curriculum's great. There's many great resources. Absolutely. Amen. But relationship bonding should come first. Friends, my fifth and final tip that I would love to give everyone before they start homeschooling, things I wish I would have known. Why didn't I know this sooner? Friends, they're gonna be okay. They are. Because nobody knows what your child needs more than you. Wanna know why? I can say this with absolute certainty. Because God gave these kids to you. He entrusted them to you. He knows that you are what will be used to disciple them, to train them up in His ways and His truth. And nobody cares about them more than you. And I know I'm repeating myself here, but I just really want that to sink in, because I think sometimes we get into these times where we're like, I'm ruining my kids. I'm goofing it up. Am I picking the right thing? Are we doing enough? Are we doing not enough? Is this the right curriculum? What about this? Do they have enough socialization? Do they have enough academic? Do they have enough? What about college? What about, we start doing all of the things. And I really think that's the enemy coming in and stealing our joy, because God does not give us the spirit of fear, the spirit of worry and anxiety and I don't know, am I doing the right thing? This unsurety. He gave them to you, and they're going to be okay. Does that mean you're going to get everything perfect? No, you're not, because I know I sure as heck haven't figured out the perfect solution to parenting and education, but I know that I care about my children more than anyone else. Me and their dad are their number one supporters, and we know that I can look scripturally at what's important and what matters. And so when I am refined by the Spirit and I prioritize those things in my life and in my role as their lead educator, it's all gonna work out okay. And God's writing their testimony a day at a time, just like He's writing ours. And so when we pursue Him above all, we pour in the ways that we feel are the ways we should be, it all works out. And I spent so long being so worried about, am I doing enough? Am I not doing enough? This feels like it works for our family, but it doesn't measure up to this person over here. And then I watch people and their stuff looks like that. And I'm like, wow, I don't do all of that. Am I doing it all wrong? Our table doesn't look like an Instagram worthy post every morning. Like, we don't even have watercolors in the house. What are we doing? And so you have all those little voices that creep in and you're like, I'm doing it wrong. I don't have a dedicated homeschool room. I didn't spend thousands of dollars on curriculum. We don't have a fancy computer. All these things come in and it starts to eat at you. Am I doing it wrong? Does my kid know enough? Somebody just asked him a question and they didn't know the answer, and it's clearly because I'm failing them as a homeschool mom. Friend, we're just going to stop that right now, because that is not at all true. You've got this. And you keep doing the best that you can each and every day, and trust in the Lord for the rest. And I can confidently say this now that I have officially graduated my oldest child, and I am so excited for what the Lord has next in his life. I could not be more proud of that child. And it definitely gives me this sense of renewed hope going into a year now with just the girls in my homeschool of, we've got this. Every child is different. We got to work with what we got and go through all the moves again, but it's going to be okay. So friends, those would be the top 5 things I desperately wish I would have known before I started homeschooling, because that would have saved me a world of heartache, struggle, anxiety, home issues, unused curriculum, you name it, it would have made a big difference. And so it is my prayer here today that these things can be a help for you. If you guys found value in this, if you found encouragement in this, and you guys wouldn't mind leaving me a thumbs up or subscribing, leave me a comment down below so that we can be lifting one another up in prayer as we all are striving to do the best for our families and for our kiddos. I hope you guys will come over and check out the website. We have all those amazing things going on. Of course, the open house coming up on Friday. Everything is linked down below. You can go to heavenlymindedhome.com to get all the details, all the resources, whatever you may need. Otherwise, I am going to go walk these puppies and get back with my kiddos. And if you guys want a little more to watch on the subject of homeschooling, right here's a playlist for you with lots and lots of things you can go and check out. Otherwise, I will see you all right back here tomorrow. Bye, friends.